On the news, lawmakers screen confirm President Buhari's ministerial nominees. Crisis in the PDP as Governor Otom accuses Atiku of insulting Wike. NNPC boss Melekiari appears before lawmakers, says federal government cannot subsidize diesel. Thank you for joining us on News Now this evening. I am Abisola Adebayo. The Nigerian Senate has confirmed the 7 persons nominated as ministers by President Muhammadu Buhari. They were confirmed on Monday following a screening at the upper chamber of the National Assembly, an exercise which was presided over by Senate President Ahmed Lawan. The development comes days after President Buhari appointed the ministers and wrote to the Senate seeking their confirmation. 4 of the newly confirmed ministers are from four southeast states, while 1 appointee came each from the northwest, southwest, and the south-south. The Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom said his River State counterpart Nyesom Wike and others who backed Wike for the People's Democratic Party PDP vice presidential ticket slot deserve a detailed explanation from the party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Ortom, who said this during the television interview on Wednesday, explained that it was surprising that Atiku could jettison the recommendation of 14 out of 17 members of the committees that recommended Wike as his running mate. He said though Okowa was not a bad choice, he believed Wike was the right man for the job owing to his character, capacity, and intellect. The Benue State Governor also said he is fasting and praying for divine guidance before deciding to support Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 general elections. Well, joining me on the program to discuss the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party is political affairs analyst Jide Ojo, who joins us via Skype. Mr. Ojo, thank you very much for joining us on the news. Talking about the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, do you think, what's your reaction to that? What do you have to say to the crisis?
Well, I'm not surprised at what is happening, given the fact that in a democracy, minority might have their say, majority will have their way. The presidential candidate have a right to make his final choice. It's like a vice chancellorship. Usually you recommend 3 candidates to the president from which he should choose. The same was done by PDP after wide consultation. It was said that governor of Akwa Ibom State, the governor of Rivers State, and the governor of Delta States were recommended. And the candidate, Atiku Abubakar, decided to go for Okowa for the reason best known to him. Recall that it is him that is the main candidate in this election. And his decision, as well as that of the party, is supreme. Yes, 17-man committee was set up. 14 purportedly supported Wike becoming the running mate to Atiku Abubakar. But he has his reasons why he made that final choice. Whether we like it or not, Governor Wike is very abrasive, very, if I may be permitted to use the word, militant in his approach to issues. But there is a clear difference. If you look at Governor Okowa, it's just direct opposite of Governor Wike. Well, issue of abrasiveness, issue of militancy, issue of being combative may have their utility value or nuisance value, but Atiku knows the reason why he does not believe Wike is the best man for the job, and he should be given the benefit of doubt. He has reached out to Wike, I believe, after that decision was made,
Right.
But obviously, I expect that Wike will be very hot because he believes that having lost the ticket to Atiku Abubakar, it should be the natural choice of a
The vice
running mate.
president.
Yeah, but Atiku Abubakar also have a say, and the party leadership must also have a say in who they flag as their
So would you
yeah.
say that this current crisis might possibly affect the party's chances in the 2023 general elections?
It depends on how it is handled. If they are able to quickly resolve it and embark on fence mending, Wike is not a pushover. Wike is a very loyal PDP member.
Right.
He has funded the party for many years, and you could see that he was demanding for the party ticket as a matter of reward, as a matter of that it deserves to be accorded that respect of being given the ticket, given this his financial input into PDP. But politics is not like that. If you look at the Atiku Abubakar is a strategist and he possibly have weighed his options. But what I'm saying invariably is that the party leadership must set up a reconciliation committee, and they have to ensure that Wike does not defect from PDP, because we saw that the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, met with him some days ago. Although he is said to be in Turkey at present, but I think I saw in the media a meeting between Peter Obi and Governor Nyesom Wike. So care has to be taken to ensure that it does not defect, because if it defects, that would be a big minus to the arsenal of PDP.
I agree with you. Political affairs analyst Jide Ojo, thank you so much for joining us on the news and for your insights. Well, still on the internal crisis rocking the opposition party, let's now join TV360 special correspondent Deji Bademosi to shed more light on the issue. But Deji, with the look of things, do you see Governor Nyesom Wike defecting from the People's Democratic Party?
It's difficult to tell if Governor Nyesom Wike would defect from the PDP to another political party, but it's not impossible. We've seen this before. But let me quickly touch on what Governor Samuel Ortom talked about. The truth is, Governor Samuel Ortom is very close to Nyesom Wike. They are very good friends. They are quite close, and you could tell from the way Governor Ortom spoke during that interview he had earlier today. But and it clearly shows that there's still a lot of work to be done for Atiku Abubakar to unite the PDP after the primaries now. No question at all that Wike still remains a very bitter man, not happy that he lost the election, the primary in the first place, and then still went on to lose the vice presidential slot now to Okowa, because he had expected that he was going to be chosen. And of course, Governor Ortom coming out to say out of the 17 of them that met, that 14 actually voted that Nyesom Wike should be the running mate of Atiku, but then Atiku eventually decided to settle for Okowa. The truth is that irrespective of how they voted in that committee, the decision to choose who the running mate should be rests with the candidate, and that's Atiku Abubakar. And he made that choice. He has his reason for making the choice, his reasons, I should say, and he did allude to some of the reasons. He talked about Governor Okowa being a gentleman, someone who mirrors the kind of person he would want to probably succeed him as president, that when he is not around, someone who can function as a president. There's no question at all. A lot of us had our doubts that Atiku was going to pick Wike in the first place, because, Wike has a very strong character. It's difficult to see a candidate now, a presidential candidate, settle for someone like that with a very strong character. Quite difficult. Both of them are completely different, and it's not a surprise when Atiku Abubakar eventually settled for Okowa. But Atiku Abubakar has got a lot of work to do. They need Wike, just as Jide Ojo said. They need Wike in the PDP. Atiku Abubakar needs Wike in his camp. And Wike is sending a clear message that if Atiku Abubakar does not move, try to reach out to him effectively, more than what he has done, that he might leave the PDP. I think that is why you've seen, for instance, in the past weeks, we've seen, for instance, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party has gone to visit Wike. We've seen members of the APC as well. We saw the Ebonyi State governor going to visit Wike. So all those were messages now that Wike was sending, if you like, to the PDP and especially to Atiku Abubakar. So there's still plenty of work to do. The good thing is that there's still a lot of time between now and the election proper. Don't forget that election comes up in February. So we still have about 6-7 months within which Atiku Abubakar would have to do everything to ensure that Wike remains in his camp and that the other people too who feel aggrieved remain in his camp as well. It's very clear from what Otom has said that he's not in support of Atiku yet, so Atiku will need to reach out to Governor Otom as well. And I believe for the 14 of them who voted for Wike to be the running mate and Atiku choosing Okowa, of course Atiku will have to reach out to them.
Party.
But then they also have to understand that ultimately the decision to choose a running mate rest with the candidate.
Well, we hope the party is able to resolve the crisis before the upcoming election. Deji Badimosi, thank you so much for joining us on the news. Moving on, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is soliciting the support of the Nigerian workers ahead of the 2023 presidential election with a promise to transform Nigeria from a consuming economy to a producing economy. The presidential candidate, who met with the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Abuja, explains that the country is suffering from bad leadership, which his administration would change. Responding to this, Ayuba Waba, NLC president, described Obi as one among the finest Nigerians and the first presidential candidate of the LP to be recognized by the Labour Center. Waba says the NLC is solidly behind the LP and will fully mobilize to ensure the victory of the party at the 2023 polls.
If you look at the theme of my campaign, I said that my commitment is to move Nigeria from consumption to production. And you can't talk about production without labor. Labor is the engine of production. Capital and machine can do anything, but labor is what makes it work. And that labor, because it's the greatest contributor to production, has to be properly remunerated. I don't need to tell you how bad things are in this country today. You know it yourself. Is it your wages? Today, Nigerians spend over 100% of their wages in just feeding.
I've said time without number. Strikes, protests alone will not actually change the situation in Nigeria. We must all go into politics, participate, acquire political offices, and change the narrative. That is the only thing that can work. But with the base of protests, I assure you they will go back and still do what they wanted to do. And that's why the universities, 4 months, is still under lock and key. Nobody cares because their children are out of Nigeria. They are studying abroad. And therefore, it's about the poor. And therefore, it's a way of impoverishing us the more. Because the more they deny the children of the poor quality education, the more they will continue to have a field day.
The Lagos State government has developed a set of policy documents to allow and guide safe termination of pregnancy in the state. According to the Lagos State Ministry of Health, the 40-page policy document sets out guidelines for safe termination of pregnancy within the ambit of the criminal law of the state, as well as to provide evidence-based data and information for health workers who have the requisite skills and training necessary to provide safe termination to reduce preventable deaths in the state. There is details in this next report. According to statistics, Nigeria reports about 10.3 million pregnancies annually. 1 in 5 of these pregnancies end in abortion, resulting to approximately 1.9 million abortions every year. However, the abortion law in Nigeria states that abortion is illegal unless done to save the life of the mother, thereby criminalizing the process. This situation has led to many opting for unsafe abortions, a process that accounts for 13% maternal deaths in the country. At this gathering, experts in the healthcare sector reiterate the reality and implications of the restrictive abortion laws in the country.
We were told, I was told, at the old General Hospital Ikeja, by the matrons, by the other consultants, that we were not allowed to carry out termination for any reason whatsoever. The Nigerian law on abortion is archaic, it is outdated. It's 1914, one of them. The other one is 1930 something.
Obviously worried about the situation, the federal government launched a national guideline on safe termination of pregnancies in 2018. Taking further actions, the Lagos state government has decided to modify these guidelines to consider the physical and mental health of the woman.
The domestication of this policy provides that needed guidance to health care providers on medical conditions in pregnancy that pose a high risk to women's life and the health if the pregnancy progresses to term, and on the standard management for abortion within the extent of the law in Lagos State.
Permanent Secretary of the Lagos State Ministry of Health clarified that the document was necessary in a bid to provide evidence-based data and information for health workers who have the requisite skills and training necessary to provide safe termination of pregnancies.
It's not about making abortion legal or available to just anybody. It's about making it clear and empowering the health workers on in which situations they can actually intervene and terminate a pregnancy, so that we don't have people just going through a lot of grief for unwanted babies. Maybe if there's been a rape or some sort of abuse, or whether if that pregnancy is going to in some way endanger the life of the mother or even her mental health.
The Lagos state government says it will now engage various stakeholders, including the law enforcement agencies, legal practitioners, as well as community leaders, to enhance the implementation of the new guidelines in a bid to reduce maternal mortality in the country. Abisola Adebayo, TV360 News. We'll take a break here, but still to come, Mali schedules presidential poll for February 2024. Details of this story and more right after this break.
Resilience. Look at you. Still standing after adverse politics stop your electric power purchase from powering our city. Still standing after adverse politics denied our city and your government revenue allocation for years. But you diligently turned it around and made our city self-sufficient and left a legacy of urban renewal and prosperity till this day. Now you emerge tops with magnanimity and victory. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, fight for us in the spirit of resiliency to deliver Nigeria from poverty and insecurity. The indomitable economic development agent Nigeria needs now. Watch this space.
Welcome back. Here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The Nigerian Senate has confirmed the 7 persons nominated as ministers by President Muhammadu Buhari. They were confirmed on Monday following a screening at the upper chamber of the National Assembly, an exercise which was presided over by Senate President Ahmed Lawan. The development comes days after President Buhari appointed the ministers and wrote to the Senate seeking their confirmation. We also told you that Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom has said his River State counterpart Nyesom Wike and others who backed Wike for the People's Democratic Party vice presidential ticket slot deserve a detailed explanation from the party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Ortom, who said this during a television interview on Wednesday, explained that it was surprising that Atiku could jettison the recommendation of 14 out of 17 members of the committees that recommended Wike as his running mate. He said though Okowa was not a bad choice, he believed Wike was the right man for the job. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. A panel of U.S. medical experts have called for Omicron-specific boosters amid anticipation that COVID vaccines will be needed on an ongoing seasonal basis. The committee convened by the Food and Drug Administration voted 19 in favor and 2 against the measure after reviewing available data, including projections about future waves and early results from vaccine makers. Vaccine makers Pfizer and Moderna had previously announced positive data on antibodies evoked by their Omicron-specific vaccines. However, most of the experts appear to favor new shots that are bivalent and target both the original Wuhan strain and the latest forms of Omicron. Well, we'll take another break here and return with more stories in business. Welcome back. Simisola Adegoyin is standing by to give us the latest in business. Simi, over to you.
Thank you, Abisola. Welcome to business. The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, has said that the possibility of introducing subsidies on automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, is unlikely. Kyari made the comment while appearing before the House of Representatives Committee on Downstream at an investigative hearing in Abuja. Kyari said that the government cannot afford the payment of subsidies on diesel as the country does not produce the commodity due to the absence of functional refineries. Kyari, however, said that the NNPC is putting all efforts in place to ensure that the refineries begin operations. We'll go on a short break here and be back with stock market reports. The Nigerian equities market closed flat at 1.50% on Wednesday, despite analyst expectation that it will record renewed bargain hunting as investors look forward to the first half of 2022 earnings season. The all-share index and market capitalization also closed flat to 51,802 basis points and 27.9 trillion naira respectively. Meanwhile, the market's year-to-date return remained positive. The low earnings are led by University Press Limited and Charms PLC with a loss of 2 naira 58 kobo. On the flip side, Ikeja Hotel and Royal Exchange lead the gainers chart with 2 naira 24 kobo. 109 listed equities traded a total of 460 million volume of shares with a value of 3.458 billion naira in 4,466 deals. It's a similar tale for stocks on the global indexes as it mostly edged lower and as investors weighed in on comments from the Federal Reserve. Our select stock, UK's FTSE and Japan's Nikkei, ended in the lows at 0.15% and 0.91%. The US Dow Jones, however, threaded softly to end in the bulls at 0.05%. That's all on stock. Back to you, Abisola.
Thank you very much, Simisola, for that update. Moving on to the foreign scene, the military authorities in Mali have announced that a presidential election to usher in civilian rule will be held in February 2024. The announcement was made after a detailed timetable for reforms, legislative and presidential polls was adopted following consultations between the interim government and political stakeholders on Wednesday. The poll timetable was released ahead of a summit of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which is expected to make a decision on whether to lift or extend sanctions it imposed on the country. A constitutional referendum will also be held in March 2023 ahead of local elections scheduled for June 2023. Well, it's now time for Entertainment Report on News Now.
Following allegations of spousal abuse leveled against him, Nollywood actress Chacha Ekefani's husband, Austin, has denied the accusations, saying he is not a violent person. Nollywood actress Chacha Ekefani had announced on Tuesday that her marriage to Austin was over in order for her to stay alive. However, her husband, who is a movie producer, took to his verified social media handle on Tuesday to debunk the allegation of domestic violence against his wife or any other woman. Austin disclosed that the truth about his marriage would be out in due time. Play Network studio makers of the Netflix original movie Glamour Girls have responded to criticisms that trailed the movie after its release in June. Glamour Girls, a remake of the 1994 classic, was greeted with heavy criticism as some faulted the storyline while others noted that the movie promoted the concept of prostitution and taught no morals. In a statement on Tuesday, founder of Play Network, Charles Okpaleke, who is also the producer of the film, appreciated the critics for their constructive criticism, which he says serves as a motivation to keep doing more. The Netflix original stars popular Nollywood stars Nse Ikpeyetem, Sharon Uja, Toke Makiwa, Temisan Emmanuel, and a host of many others. And that's all we have on the entertainment segment of News Now.
World Football Governing Body FIFA has announced that the remaining tickets for this year's World Cup in Qatar will be available on a first-come, first-served basis from next week. FIFA, in a press statement, explained that the latest tickets will go on sale online from July 5th to August 16, adding that about 1.8 million tickets had already been sold in the first two batches of the sales. According to officials, 3 million tickets are available, including those allocated to sponsors. Qatar will host the first World Cup in the Middle East from November 21st to December 18 at 8 stadiums in and around the capital, Doha. Well, that's the size of our bulletin this evening. Thank you for watching.